Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and today I'm in the Ram Rebel TRX. It is quite the truck, and I just got done playing in the desert here outside of Lake Tahoe, California. I drove it all in from an event, landed in Reno, kind of took it around. But anyways, in this video, I'm going to tell you 5 good things, maybe 5 not so good things about the new Ram Rebel TRX, the new Raptor competitor. So I know you guys are probably watching lots of videos and getting all the basics. If you didn't get the basics of this truck is basically a separate creation than the Ram 1500. 70%, more than 70% new parts. I got a supercharged 6.2 liter V8 that has 702 horsepower. I got a wider truck that's wider than the Ram 1500. Even the Rebel, it's bigger than that. And I got lots of cool graphics, and it's a whole different rig. So it's not even the same category of the Ram 1500 by a stretch. I'll have another video up, I'll link above, dink, and that'll have all the engineering of the frame and the suspension, all the stuff they've done to this truck to make it that unique. But like I said, I'm going to kind of cut through some of the bull and get right to the 5 good things and 5 bad things. Not so good things. Let's just call it that way. So, number 1, the really good thing about this truck is that Ram really went out above their way, went above and beyond to build a truck that is very, very durable. Now, if you know anything about trucks and you've watched any of my dependability and reliability videos that I've done, you know that Ram usually ranks in the bottom of the quality on all trucks. I mean, people have had problems with Ram trucks over the years. There's been issues with transmissions and things, and they've really stepped up their game in the last couple of years. They just got a JD Power Initial Quality Award. They've done some appeal studies. They're one of the top appealing trucks to their customers. They're one of the most brand loyal trucks out there. So they've really done a lot of work working on their Achilles heel, which has been quality for their customers. They're trying to build a truck that's very durable. We have just beat the living crap out of this truck, and it has handled it. I got a bunch of skid plates underneath. They have aluminum, and it goes to steel underneath the fuel tank is all steel going back. We've taken and jumped with this truck. I've taken and beaten it around on rocks and things, and they have done a ton of work to make this a very durable truck. And for guys like me who my priority is having a truck that runs, having a truck I can count on, that's huge. I really like a truck that I'm going to be able to start every day and get to work.
Feet, turn right onto Highway 80.
Well, deal with navigation just a little bit. So that's the biggest key. It's going to be very, very durable. Number 2 is the off-road prowess. Holy cow. Now, I was wearing a helmet and a Hans device and all this kind of stuff. I can't talk to you while I was doing the off-road stuff. Let me go ahead and play the video, and I'll do some voiceover of what I was doing, and you see me jumping with this truck. All right, man, check that video out. I mean, it's just incredible to be jumping this truck. I mean, you drive this truck out there, they give you a helmet, they give you a Hans device. Now, this gentleman didn't have it, but they put you in the seat and they say, here, go jump this $70,000, $80,000 production truck and have a good time. That is remarkable, and it's crazy how much this truck transforms. We put it in Baja mode. It changes the way the response is, changes the suspension setup with the way the shocks respond. And it's incredible, the performance on this. Now, there's going to be a lot of Raptor comparisons. And I got to tell you what, I think this truck's a little bit better than Raptor as far as overall suspension and performance. That 702 horsepower, that's hard to beat. And this truck also does a fairly decent job at rock crawling. Here, let me show you. All right, so here we are going up the rocks, another driver doing them. But this is a rock crawl they set up along the side of the course. And you can see it's pretty aggressive here. As far as how this goes up the top of the hill. We do have locking rear differentials, we do have the 4-wheel drive system engaged, and we do have a rock crawl mode that's going to change the way the suspension reacts and the way the throttle response reacts. But it'll climb that hill pretty decent. The biggest challenge is going to be the width of it, and so you really got to pick your spots when you're heading up over like some rock crawling and such. It's going to fit in most trails that I've seen, and even some northern Michigan trails, as I was reminded of, but just pick your spots. All right, what's it look like inside the cabin when you're driving that fast? Well, here you go. And you'll notice that my GoPro is not going to behave here. It just does not want to stay in one spot because we're hitting stuff so fast. I mean, the suspension is fairly smooth. Look at my head in there. I'm holding on pretty decent. I'm not. There's a jump. Okay, so you can see where you're getting air, and you can see my head just, there's a jump. It's almost like a roller coaster ride inside the cabin, especially with this truck. It's something you don't anticipate, and yeah, I had some challenges in really sticking in the corners. There's a couple of them that had a little bit more dirt moved in other places, but it was just me. The truck had more capability than I was giving it, you know, as far as pushing it, and it would do a lot more things. I think that's the big jump there, as far as I can tell. It's just your whole body levitates up in the seat, and it's really impressive. And big thanks to Ram. That was a really fun day, and I could have done that a few times, but I did learn my lesson. You notice here in a second, as far as you're watching this video, you may think about this, is that I ate my lunch after I shot this video. So I did the off-road course, and then I ate lunch. But yeah, it's impressive. We did 4 laps, 1 kind of get-to-know it lap, and then 3 pretty hard laps, and I went as fast as I possibly could, and you know, we were able to talk inside the cabin. That's the crazy part is we're off-roading here on the track at this park up with the name down below, and we're going really fast, and we're still able to talk in this quiet cabin. Okay, number 3, if you thought that off-road video was cool, because it is, on-road, it's really impressive as well. This thing feels really planted. I'm going to play you some video I shot when I was in the hills, kind of coming down through switchbacks and stuff. And it's amazing how such a big truck can feel so planted on the road and so comfortable to drive. Like, the road I'm driving on right now isn't really well paved that as much as I'd like it to be. I can see some disruptions in the road. It's not a great road. And I'm still feeling like I'm driving, well, smoothly. And I'm shocked by this, that they were able to not only build a truck that's really good off-road and also build a truck really good on-road too. Usually you have a compromise one way or the other. A big key to this is the new Goodyear tires they developed. These are 35-inch tires, and Ram tells me that their engineering team went to Goodyear and they basically challenged them to build a tire that fit both their needs, plus had some styling along the sides that they asked for. So when you really examine this tire, you can see it's got some signature marks along the side outer of the tire, and those marks were determined by Ram engineers and driven by the process. So Goodyear really stepped up their game to build a tire that did both. And I'm driving right now with the fan off and with the radio off, and I'm not hearing the typical off-road tire whine like you normally do with a big, meaty off-road tire. So usually, like I said, usually you get a compromise one way or the other, but this truck, you could definitely road trip with this truck and you'd have no problems with that at all, which is usually not the case with most off-road trucks. Usually it's a compromise between off-road performance and on-road performance. Okay, number 4 is going to be how customizable it is for any size customer. So I have bolstered seats. They're about, I think they're 20 millimeters, a little bit more bolstered than the typical Ram seat. So I held myself in the truck a little bit more when I'm off-road driving. But they're still wide enough that my little beer tummy here still fits well in this truck, and I have adjustable pedals. I have a telescoping and raising and lowering of the steering wheel. I can't remember the other word. So the steering wheel goes in and out, and it goes up and down, and I have adjustable pedals, and I have an adjustable seatbelt too. So literally any body size, man or woman, could fit in this truck and drive it comfortably without feeling like they're smashed against the steering wheel or feeling like they're so disconnected. And so that's going to be really good because most trucks are becoming family trucks now, which means you have a variety of drivers driving these trucks. Number 5 is going to be overall quietness. And I'm going to get to this as kind of a negative too, but from a positive standpoint, I mean, I've been driving all day in this truck, and I can lower my voice, and I can talk kind of quietly. And I still feel like I have lots of quietness in this cabin. Even when I'm off-roading, even when I'm beating stuff up, it's a very quiet truck. I mean, I can hear very vividly when I smash the skid plate. I mean, when that thing goes crunch, I can hear it because this cabin is so quiet everywhere else. I don't have any sort of weirdness as far as knocking on plastic, anything kind of weird vibrations. I know there's acoustic glass in the front of this truck that really cuts down the sound as well. It's a very quiet ride inside the interior, and it's a really nice riding truck too, so that's a very bonus thing. Now, before I get to my dislikes, I want to talk about a bonus feature. And this is something that we don't talk a lot with off-road trucks, but we need to talk more of this. So I was talking to the chief engineer on this in the engineering side, and we were talking about towing. Now, typically with an off-road truck, when you have some sacrifices of towing. So in this case, we're only going to be able to tow 8,100 pounds. And typically, also, you have more truck squat when you do an off-road truck. Now, this is because the springs are set up for more of the Baja desert racing than they would a typical 1,500 stock truck, right? So the spring rates are differently, so the truck will sag a little bit more in an off-road truck. Now, I had said this in a video before, and I kind of got some credit about it. Let me tell you what this engineer told me. When you put it in towing mode, it actually stiffens up the shocks in the back. So they have these brand new shocks that had developed. It stiffens up the shocks to stop it from having so much squat. So springs and shocks can play a role in off-road towing. Yes, I know, blast me in the comments. This is from the engineer himself, and so that does help. So if you use stabilizer bars and use the towing mode, and that stabilizes that shock a little bit more, you won't have as much squat as you think you will. You will still have some squat because the off-road springs are not the stock springs. But they've done what they could to mitigate that. And, you know, truck squat's not a bad thing all the time. It can get really bad if you're really like this, because then you're staring up to heaven and you have loss of brake power, and as far as how equal the brakes are attaching to the wheels and slowing things down, and you have less wheel grip because your wheels on the front are off the ground. But I imagine in this case, you're probably going to be okay because you're only going to tow about 8,100 pounds. This is a pretty heavy truck. It's a pretty heavy truck overall, so I think you'll be fine. But I thought it was really interesting about how...
to keep left onto I-80 westbound after 2 miles.
Yes, I thought it was pretty interesting about how the towing mode changed the way the shock setup was. Okay, so those are the good things. Let's talk about the 5, well, not so good things about this truck. So do you remember that really cool exhaust note you get from the 6.2 liter turbocharged V8? If you don't, I'll play a video. Okay, that sounds impressive, right? Really cool. The challenge is, you can only hear that outside the truck. Yeah, inside the truck, the cabin is so quiet, all you hear is really the whine of the supercharger kicking on. You don't hear that exhaust really picking up. And so, unless you have the windows down, nice summer day, or if you're standing outside a truck, you don't hear that cool exhaust note. Pro and a con there, right? So the pro is that you can drive long distances, very quiet in the cabin, very comfortable drive. The con is, if you really want to hear that exhaust note, you're going to have some challenge with it inside the cabin. So just thought it was kind of interesting to point out that would be one of the things you need to look at. Number 2 is going to be payload. So this truck is much heavier than a 1,500 truck, and adding in that supercharger really adds more weight to the truck, plus a heavy-duty frame. That means payload's at 1,300 pounds. Hold on here. I just got a sticker from one of these trucks we drove. Check this out. It's 966 pounds of payload in this truck, and one of the trucks like at the event. So think about that. It's 966. Max tow is 8,100 pounds. This truck's not going to be max tow in 8,100. So, you know, it is a big truck, and it's really durable frame, and it's got tons of reinforcements all the way through it. But keep in mind, that's really for Baja driving. That's for jumping. That's for stuff we did in this video. This is not a truck you're going to do a lot of towing with or a lot of hauling with. It's just not that thing. I think you'd do a small camper, put your stuff in the back, probably tow that with a few buddies. But just be cautious on this truck. I'm sure it's going to be really easy to overload this truck. Okay, so I could sit 5 in this cabin. Let's say I take 5 guys that weigh 200 pounds. Very typical man, 200 pounds, right? So that's 1,000 pounds. That means in the bed of the truck and all my other gear, I only have 300 pounds of payload. And then if I'm towing something, I got to take the tongue weight minus 10% and apply that to the payload. So you're going to have some challenges about not overloading this truck because of the lower payload. It's just a pro and a con, again, like quietness in the cabin, is that with the heavier V8, with the heavier frame, you have less payload. And so keep that in mind when you plan on doing something with this. Now, what I would do with this is I would flat tow it, which is capable, behind an RV to a desert, and you can carry your gear in there. So that's one thing to consider, is that if you do plan on flat towing this, the payload's only 1,300 pounds, so don't overload that with your motorcycles and your camping gear and such. Just, again, it's just a con of an off-road truck. Okay, number 3 and number 4, I'm going to pull over when I can, and I'll explain to you my not so great things about those 2 features. Okay, let's talk about these other 2 features that I really don't care for with this truck. And one is specifically for this truck, the second one's kind of just Uconnect system issue. But so we have this drive mode button, which is kind of cool. So you press TRX, and boom, there's drive mode: sport, tow, snow, mud, sand, rock. And you use the buttons here, and you can kind of go through them. You can see, it'll change transmission, how it's going to react, paddle shifters, stability control, all sorts of stuff. So why would I have a problem with that? Well, here's the deal. When I go back and forth from auto, I go to snow or I go custom. Now, custom is cool because you can set up the way you want to, but I usually use sport a lot. Like auto, sport, and custom are basically the 3 you can use. Now, I can press the button here, and I can go through these 2, which is pretty fast, and that's cool. But I'm pressing this, and then I'm going to ignore the buttons here because I really need auto and sport and custom to kind of be next to each other. It'd be awesome if auto was on the top, right, and below it was sport, and then over was custom, because then you can just go left and right from sport to auto to custom. Typically, when you're going to do mud, sand mode, rock, or Baja, you have time to set these before you do that stuff. But if I'm driving along and I just want to have fun, and I want to go to sport, I want to go to custom, it's not so it's kind of counterintuitive here to press the button and not have the buttons here work, go here instead. So I think, like I said, auto up top, sport, snow, tow, and then custom would kind of rearrange that and make a lot more sense in my head and how that's going to work. Now, the second issue I have, and this is, I think, number 4 on the list, is when you use a surround view camera, which is really cool, like off-roading, I can see people driving behind me, I can rock crawl. When I was doing the rock thing, I could see stuff. And it's really cool. So there it is. And so let's say I want to camera up, and then I'm going to take it out of Baja and go to regular mode. When I press the button, nothing works. When so I can't move that around. When I press the fan button, it works, but I can't see, the screen doesn't change. So whatever button I kind of press, the screen doesn't change. I actually have to go in and close the screen with the X. I'll show you that again. And I have to close that screen to be able to access the buttons and to go around to different modes. It's just kind of irritating when you're rock crawling and stuff, and you want to get out of rock mode and go to auto, or if you want to go from sport to auto and you want to be done seeing the screen, that when I press these buttons, it doesn't just automatically override the close feature here. I'd like it to close this on a automatic when I press a button. Any other button, like the TRX or the fan mode, whatever, close that camera so I can see the screen. Those are my other 2 kind of not so great things about this truck. Okay, and number 5, I'm not sure why this is the case. This could be a pre-production version of this truck. Maybe that's an issue as well. But one thing you'll notice inside the cabin is I don't have a sunroof. Now, there are people that love and hate sunroofs, so I'm not going to argue either way of that. My thing is I don't know the sticker off the top of my head and the price, but I bet you this is between probably a $75,000 truck. It's probably at least above 70. And I'm surprised that I don't have the sunroof in this truck. I know they're available. I'm just surprised at that price point, I don't have a sunroof. So, like I said, it's a pro and con. People love them, people hate them. I just was a little surprised by that. I just think it would be one of those features that would be standard at this price point. Okay, before I wrap up this video, I want to talk about 2 things that are probably going to come up in the comments that I've kind of, as I'm watching this video, as I'm doing this stuff, I'm kind of guessing will come up. First, a con's going to be price. I mean, come on. It's a $70, $80, even $90,000 truck with all the buttons, options pushed in the TRX 3 package, interior package. And I can see people going, oh my goodness, that's a really high price. But I do like the fact that Ram has a TRX 1 package. They have the cloth seats, they have the stuff that allows for the lower price point. So they're offering a range of prices there. But come on, it's a big, heavy off-road truck that's going to cost a lot of money. That's what it is. So let's just talk about that. And speaking of big and heavy, I just got the email on the fuel economy figures. And here they are. It is 10 city, 14 highway, and 12 combined. So you're basically going to get 12 miles per gallon. I mean, this is a supercharged V8 engine. I mean, come on. That's kind of what you expected. I was joking with the Ram reps at the event that I think there should be a forum for Ram owners like this where they're not talking about fuel economy they're getting. They should be bragging about the worst fuel economy they're getting, because this truck is so much fun to drive. It's so quick. It's so fast off the line. You know, you do launch mode, you do all this cool stuff with it that, you know, it's really hard not to speed. I actually was very, knock on wood, lucky not to get a speeding ticket on this trip because it's hard. It's really hard not to speed. So let's go ahead and get back to the video and I'll wrap things up. Especially considering I have the TR2 trim in this truck, so I have the top trim level. Although I'm missing like the red accents and different things, but still, it just seems like that should be the case. There you go. There are my top 5 good things and top 5, well, not so good things about this Ram Rebel TRX. Let me know below. What are your comments? Am I hitting the mark? Am I way off the beaten path? Again, let me know down below. Also, check out this video over here. It's a good time. Website down below as well. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.